Hello, everyone. Welcome to the breakout session on the opportunities and challenges in Nigeria's renewable energy sector. My name is Sheila Ojay. I am the head of communications for Jobberman Nigeria. And this session is going to be a very interactive session. But before we begin, let's just have something, we just have a little video to show, and then we can take it from there. Okay, so like I said, welcome again. At the moment, we have a few people trickling in, just a few house rules. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box, which you can find down below. And we will be able to, the panelists and the people speaking will be able to respond to your questions, right? Okay, great. So I'm going to hand it over now to Dr. Segun Adaju with his brief overview of Nigeria's energy markets. And over to you, Dr. Segun.
Thank you, Sheila. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Segun Adaju. I'm the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. In a few minutes, I just want to take you through an overview of the energy market in Nigeria. Let me just share my slide. Right. Yes. So briefly, let me introduce the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. I have the privilege of being the president. It started in 2016, November, and is an umbrella body for all renewable energy practitioners in Nigeria. We have about 5 technologies that we look into. That includes solar, wind, small hydro, biomass, and then geothermal. So a few people are beginning to look at the potentials of geothermal power in Nigeria. We engage a whole lot with all stakeholders, particularly governments, to ensure that we have an enabling environment to do business. We have over 140 members. Many of them also are foreign players in the Nigerian market. And our vision is to see renewables contributing a minimum of 40% into the energy mix in Nigeria by 2030. Let me just give a rundown to the general energy sector situation in Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of over 200 million. The installed capacity is close to 13 gigawatts. That's generators, energy generators, have built. The distribution line can take a maximum of 7,500 megawatts, while the real operational energy that gets to the people is on the average 4,000 megawatts. So you can imagine a country of over 200 million. So by international benchmark, we should be generating a minimum of 200,000 megawatts. Now the gap is mostly also filled by what we call self-generation. So we have a lot of generators in Nigeria that is filling this gap, almost 4 times what the grid supplies. Now, in terms of the energy mix, we have, say, about 80% thermal, that's from gas, and then the rest from some large hydro plants that we have. The plan of the government is to generate 30,000 megawatts by 2030, and then 30% of this, which is projected to be from renewable energy. And recently, the government entered a deal with Siemens to build this capacity to about 25,000 megawatts by 2030. So between built capacity and final energy that gets to the operational capacity that gets to end users, there are a lot of issues in the value chain, including gas supplies, illiquidity, and so many other issues that we'll be looking at very shortly. Now, let me also remind you that there's still some level of subsidy in terms of the electricity pricing and also some fossil fuel supplies. So in data, in graphic format, this is what we have. 12,522 megawatts built capacity, 4,200 delivered to the people. So we have a unutilized of about 8,300 megawatts. And that shows, I mean, the capacity and the potential that we have in the sector. Now, let me say a little bit about the renewable energy space. So government is also making some very good inroads in enhancing development of renewables in Nigeria, starting from the feed-in tariff that was set in 2015, although as at then it was seen as too ambitious. I think it was 42 cents, US cents. But today we're average price as per the power purchase agreement signed is about 7.5 US cents. Okay, so government is setting up, I mean, from the nationally determined contribution also, because we're also a signatory to the Paris Accord and agreement, I mean. 14 companies have been licensed to do on-grid solar. However, none of them has reached financial close for so many reasons. So what we are seeing growing up in Nigeria currently is distributed renewables. And of course, it's a combination of all the 5 technologies I've mentioned earlier, but solar is taking the lead. So there's a 10 megawatt wind project in northern part of Nigeria that is supposed to be grid tied, but it's also not connected yet. Now, the market in Nigeria, we generally refer to as the Nigeria electricity supply industry. And the overarching regulation is the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005 that clearly states who the regulator is and all the players. So the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission is the regulator. They issue the power purchase agreement to the generating companies through a body called the bulk trader, Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company. So in terms of generation, we have, say, about 4 different types. They're grid tied. So if I talk about renewables now, I mentioned the 14 companies that signed PPAs totaling about 1,200 megawatts in all. Then we have embedded generation, we have captive, and then off-grid. So the off-grid renewables is taking the lead currently in Nigeria. Then the transmission is owned by governments, an organization called Transmission Company of Nigeria that has a built capacity of 8,100 megawatts in terms of distribution lines. And we have the system operator that takes care of the grid and the technical aspect, and then the market operator that is in charge of pricing, power purchase agreements, and the rest. And of course, distribution companies with, which you call discos, they handle the end, the last mile distribution of energy to end users. Of course, I've talked about the market trader. That is generally what the industry looks like, the supply industry for electricity in Nigeria. Let me also mention here that we have about 26 power plants in Nigeria generating electricity to the grid. We have about 11 distribution companies, and of course, 1 transmission company. Now, there are a lot of regulation that is essential in Nigeria for investors to also know, ranging from IPP to the independent electricity distribution network, to captive generation, to mini grid, and even embedded generation. It has several provisions in terms of requirement for contracts, and then the pros and cons to be considered by interested investors. And then in the renewable energy space, we have several regulations also. Of particular notes and interest will be I mentioned the renewable energy feed-in tariffs of 2015. We have the National Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Policy of 2016. We have the Nigerian Renewable Energy Action Plan also, and then the Rural Electrification Strategy and Implementation Plan. This regulation drives the sector. We also have the mini grid policy also in place in Nigeria now, and mini grid through solar and other technologies is growing very fast in Nigeria. We have estimated over 8,000 potential and viable sites for mini grids in Nigeria. Now, let me, as I move towards closing, let me just talk about some of the regulators and key actors. So I've talked about the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. So if you're interested in, setting up a power plant that's above 1 megawatts and you want to distribute and sell, you need to get a license or get registered with the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Of course, the Ministry of Power is the ministry in charge of the energy sector and markets. And then under the Ministry of Power, we have the Rural Electrification Agency that is pushing very strongly renewables. There's a $550 million line from the World Bank and African Development Bank taken by the Nigerian government and implemented through the Rural Electrification Agency, and is driving a lot of mini grids and energizing education, health, and agriculture, and so many things going on in that sector. We have the Energy Commission of Nigeria. They're basically in charge in terms of planning, and then the Minister of Environment in terms of environmental issues. So if you're interested in doing business, you need to carry out your ESIA, environmental and social impact assessment, and the department under the Ministry of Environment is the go-to person. Of course, Ministry of Finance, in terms of some of the funding provisions made, and that includes Central Bank of Nigeria. There's about 140 billion naira provision for what we call the Solar Power Nigeria. So for potential manufacturers of renewable energy technologies, you can access that funding. We also have the Standard Organization of Nigeria that regulates the quality of products, particularly solar panels and other components. We have the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency. So they are in charge of technical specification, basically the codes, grid codes and off-grid codes, mini grid codes, in terms of rolling out renewables in Nigeria. Of course, we also have the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company. So if you want to generate renewable energy and connect to the national grid, you need to sign a power purchase agreement with the embed. They buy from, just sell to distributors who sell to end users and collect the money. You have the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria that have the privilege of being the president. We're happy to talk to you to also showcase what we have. Is the leading industrial association in Nigeria and includes several players. I'll probably close with these. Also, and institutions in Nigeria. Let me also say climate finance is also finding its root very strongly in Nigeria. We have a funding from green bonds. Some banks have listed already. Banks like Access Bank. So Central Bank of Nigeria has for renewables. There's the Bank of Industry, the leading development finance, and also Development Bank of Nigeria. We have the likes of USAID, the FCDO, GIZ, European Union, and everyone interested in the Nigerian market. Let me close with this. Nigeria remains the most viable with the highest market potentials for renewable energy deployment in sub-Saharan Africa. Number one, because of the huge gap that exists between demand and supply. Number two, because the grid is also limited, and they were seeing a whole lot of activities going on in the distributed renewable energy space in Nigeria. On that note, I'll say thank you for your attention. I'll be happy to take questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Adaju. We do have a question, but we will address that. We will address the questions much later. So now we're going to hand over to Mr. Pelumi Gold, who is going to be speaking on business opportunities and challenges in Nigeria's renewable sector. Over to you, Mr. Pelumi.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just bring up share my screen. All right, so nice to meet you all. I'll be speaking on business opportunities and challenges in Nigeria's renewable energy. I'm Olu Akwadimiko, by the way, and I work as the Project and Business Development Manager at Rubitech Solar. I will go straight to it. So my boss, Mr. Sheikh has done a great introduction on how on the state of Nigeria's electricity sector in Nigeria, and steps need to be taken in that aspect. So so far in Nigeria, we have a population of over 200 million, the largest in Africa. And when you have a population of this size, it comes with its opportunities and challenges. The population growth in Nigeria is currently at 2.5% yearly and expected to increase over the years. Unfortunately, with this electricity, we will not be able to match it in Nigeria with this population. We will not be able to match it with electricity access. This has brought on new challenges. In Nigeria, the national peak demand is estimated at 26 gigawatts. Total installed capacity is 12.5 gigawatts. But the generated electricity is 6.8 and distributed is 3.8. Nigeria has over 80 million residents without access to grid electricity, and that leaves about 64% of rural residents without electricity access. This is the largest deficit in sub-Saharan Africa, with 45% electrification rate. The renewable energy sector in Nigeria is driven by four main sources: solar, wind, biomass, and hydropower. In the past 5 years, solar energy as a source of power has experienced the most growth in Nigeria. Renewable energy professionals can take full advantage of these. They're focusing on mini-grid development. We have the isolated mini-grids, we also have the interconnected mini-grids. Isolated mini-grids is where you have, there is no distribution network, there's no grid line in the community or location where you want to situate your mini-grid. So you are working fully isolated from the grid line. Interconnected means there's presence of existing grid, national grid in Nigeria, where you can take advantage of that grid line and also integrate your mini grid and work in collaboration with the DISCOs. The DISCOs distribution company handling in charge of the territory for the community where you are located. So you work with them, and you work hand in hand to produce electricity for this community. Now, we also have the commercial industrial power development, where we have different industry companies that they need power. So you provide power for these companies in their firms, in their facilities. Now, the advantage of this is that in many organizations, many of these commercial industrial companies, they do work within the time where you have sunshine. So they work within the hours of sunshine. So you can take full advantage of this time to provide power for these commercial industrial organizations. You can also, in the case where they are running 24-hour shifts, full-time work, you can take advantage of solar hybrid systems in this case. We also have productive use equipment. In productive use equipment, what we have is you can work with users, heavy users uh, of of power, where we have in Nigeria we have a lot of farmers. We have the cocoa dryers, we have the rice millers. We can work with them where they we have solar as a cheap source of power for them. I know these are places where you have these are places where we have the opportunity to take advantage of in the renewable energy space. We have cooling and heating. In Nigeria we have a high high temperature in the day. We can provide cooling within this time, and we can also provide heating through solar heaters. We also have clean cooking. Clean cooking is a growing sector in the Nigerian renewable energy space, where in rural areas we can most of the cooking is from firewood, is from fossil fuel, from kerosene, but we can have a better form of clean cooking where it's sustainable. Now, the market for off-grid solar in Nigeria has grown over 5 years compared to India. India as a reference point because of its population and how much they've grown in terms of in the renewable energy space. But in India has dropped about 30% in terms of their growth, and this shows a lot of potential in Nigeria. Nigeria is largely a rural areas in terms of mass compared to the urban areas, and this shows that there's a lot of potential for renewable energy growth in the space. There are a lot of sectors where in the renewable energy space we need to develop local talents. It's been noted, and to encourage renewable energy development, there are several fundings available to developers to help scale up renewable energy adoption in Nigeria. We have the performance-based grants, where we have $48 million available. We have the minimum subsidy tender facilitated through the REA, that's the Rural Electrification Agency in Nigeria, which Mr. Shegun Adaju just mentioned before. The funding there is over $100 million. We have the Sunrev Green Facility, finance facility. We have the USAGF all-on off-grid funding. We have the Solar Power Nigeria, which is to power 5 million households. Funding available. We also have other sectors to note in the renewable energy space in Nigeria: data management and remote monitoring. This is a space where it's easy to grow. There's a need for proper data in the renewable energy space in Nigeria, and remote monitoring, because most of these sites, mini grid locations, are located remotely and there's low internet access. This is a place where you can it's easy to grow. We have electric vehicles in our mini grid in Bamu. We integrated the first commercial electric vehicles in Nigeria in partnership with Max NG. This is a space for growth, to see growth and easy adoption in the community. So on that, I'll rounding up. for some of the key challenges, or some of the challenges experienced has been COVID-19. So we had it's really slowed down the pace of renewable energy adoption in Nigeria. We have local production of equipment is minimal here. We have just one or two producers of solar panels. We don't have battery producers in Nigeria. High capex compared to non-renewables, low volume of local talents which need to be developed, and even financial institutions are investing low. And these are some of the challenges which we've seen overcoming in a slow pace, but can be done faster. That's done. I would say thank you very much. I hope to answer your questions that come up in the session. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Pelumi Gold. I believe that was a very insightful session. Interestingly, we've actually been getting a few questions, which we will be asking, which we'll be asking in the panel session. So for anyone who's just joining, because some people are just joining, my name is Sheila LJ. I'm the head of communications for Joberman Nigeria. Joberman Nigeria is Nigeria's leading recruitment firm, and we do recruitment across all industries, including the renewable sector. And for this panel session, we're actually going to be discussing a little bit more around what Mr. Pelumi Gold was talking about, and that is just the business, the opportunities and the challenges that are in Nigeria's renewable sector. But before we begin, I would like the speakers, some you've already listened to and some that are just coming that you're going to listen to now, to please introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about what they do, their companies, and then we'll take it from there. So I think I would like to start with Dr. Segun Adaju.
All right, thank you, Sheila. My name is Segun Adaju. I run a company called Consistent Energy. We are into basically solar. I'm also the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, an association that incorporates over 140 renewable energy players in Nigeria, including Rubitech Solar. So I also know that we have a very strong, in terms of collaboration, we collaborate across the space, including Joberman. Joberman's current CEO actually came from renewable energy sector. That's my friend. So we push the sector strongly in Nigeria. We see the huge opportunities. We feel the challenges that exist also creates more opportunities, all right, to do business in Nigeria. And I'll be happy to take further questions and provide clarification as regards the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pelumi Gold, I know we just listened to you, but if you could please introduce yourself and the company that you represent.
Okay, I'm Pelumi Gold. I'm the business development manager at Rubitech Solar. We develop mini grids across Nigeria. We also do EPCs for developing solar hybrid projects across the country. We will currently have existing mini grids. Today, we just signed the IMAS grant agreement. That's the Interconnected Mini Grid Acceleration Scheme with the Federal Ministry of Power and the REA, supported by GIZ and the NES, Nigerian Energy Support Program. So yeah, we're working on some of the first mini grids in Nigeria, and interconnected mini grids in Nigeria. We also are working on scaling up mini grids in Nigeria. Part of what led is the adoption of commercial electric vehicles to mini grids in Nigeria. So that's part of what I do in the space. So yes. that. It's also involved in C&I, yes, a lot of commercial in it as well.
All right, thank you so much. And finally, Mr. Fabio De Pascale, could you just please introduce yourself and your company and what you do?
Sure. So Fabio De Pascale, I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called NextGrid, and it's a company that aims at helping other companies develop and operate the mini grids in Nigeria. So essentially, we provide a suite of software solutions and technologies that help kickstart a mini grid and assess the site and then handle the payments and the operations. But also we provide equipment for the energy assets, so solar panels and batteries on rental basis. So we really try to activate the local market so the local companies can become mini grid developers in Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much. Now we'll go straight into the questions, but I have one question. Now there are a few of us who are here, including myself, who probably a part of the event, and maybe we're new to the renewable energy sector, maybe trying to switch careers, or maybe we just want to know a little bit more. So I think I'll start with Mr. Fabio. Could you just explain, like, assuming you're explaining to like a 5-year-old, which is like the age of my daughter, what exactly is a mini grid and how can businesses benefit from having one?
Sure, I have a 5-year-old myself, so mini grids are a relatively simple concept. Is really very similar to what you have with the national grid. So when you have the national grid, the national utility that bring in wires to your home, the only real difference is that instead of being that electricity coming from somewhere else is typically actually generated relatively close to your home. In some instances, it's going to be generated right next to your home, sometimes on your roof, some other times maybe a kilometer or two away, but you can definitely walk to the power station and look at it. And very often it's going to be in an isolated setting. So very often it's going to be not interconnected to the main grid, either because of distance or sometimes due to technical decisions. You prefer to just stay isolated and be self-contained. I don't know if a 5-year-old.
I think a 5-year-old would understand that. I think a 5-year-old would understand that. So what would you say is the capacity of an average mini grid? Like, can you have different grids stitched together?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it's a question we get quite a lot. The challenge there is that there is no real simple answer. Meaning, just like if someone was to ask, what's the capacity of the national utility? Well, it depends on the country, I guess. If you are to, Tuvalu, it's probably a bit smaller than if you are the United States. That said, in Nigeria, we see that a lot of mini grids make sense, economically speaking, started at 30, 40 kilowatt. But we have, and there are mini grids that go in the megawatt range. So it's very broad. That's one of the, I would say, one of the strengths of mini grids, like this versatility and the fact that they can actually accommodate very diverse needs and are very, very flexible as a tool.
Okay, thank you.
By the way,
so
others
much.
might actually be better than me at answering this because I know that
yes, I was just about to go to Dr. Adaju. I was just about to go to him because as the president of the Renewable Energy Association, I'm sure he has like a more robust answer to that. So, as a country, in Nigeria, there's always this talk about oil, the gas and things like that. And so my first question, which obviously is something that we all think, or we always tend to think, why renewables when we have so much oil and gas reserves in Nigeria? Why should we look at renewables?
All right, thank you so much, Sheila. Yes, there's a global shift to cleaner energy sources. Many countries come together to sign an agreement that I mentioned earlier called the Paris Agreement to ensure that the world keeps the temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, our climate might be threatened. Okay, so it's a global move. One, moving away from more polluting sources which includes the oil and fossil fuel that we burn to cleaner sources. That's number one. Number two is that no country will also want to take the risk of what we call energy security. So relying on one source of power can put you at risk. Let me tell you, many times in Nigeria, including this year, I think twice or three times this year, that the grid is completely shut down. That means the whole country is in darkness. So energy security. So if you rely too much on one source, you are taking that chances. Thirdly is also the fact that the energy, sources in terms of renewables is becoming more, affordable. Prices are dropping, particularly solar. With the cost of the alternatives, fossil fuel generators, it's becoming economically sensible also to adopt these technologies. And finally, the world is also everything is becoming distributed now, especially with the effect of COVID. So we are in all our different countries. We're having a conference. Most times the mission might have been done physically in Nigeria. So everything is becoming distributed. So energy also is taking that line, so that when the grid shuts down, the whole, despite all the heavy reserves that we have in oil and gas, we are still only able to distribute 5,000 to populace. So it makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
So renewable is becoming the big deal. Energy transition globally.
I mean, I do agree. There's a huge shift towards renewables, which is actually quite interesting. Now, looking at a country like Nigeria, what would you say is really our main challenge when it comes to renewable energy? Well, what exactly is the main challenge? Because I would say for someone who might not be in the industry, it just feels very I would just say unreachable. Right? So what is the challenge? Why does it feel that way? And what is the main challenge in terms of acquisition to to the average households as well as businesses?
Okay, so thank you. So there are various, studies that's been done. What are the issues? Excuse me. What are the challenges in scaling renewable energy technologies in Nigeria? And I'll just mention a few, not in any particular order. Of course, the business environment is improving. We're seeing a lot of policies coming up. We're seeing some movement from even government itself, but it can be better. So there are incentives that need to be created. There are waivers and duties that has been applied in other countries that Nigeria can learn from. In some countries, if you put solar on your rooftop, there are some rebates you get in terms of tax and the rest. So that will be an encouragement. Also, for players like myself, Palumi, and others, access to finance has been one of the issues, right? And I'm happy you also talk about the issue of cost. So let me take a typical example. My company, we power a lot of small businesses that use a generator that is very common in Nigeria. Most Nigerians know the name. And then it costs just about, in Nigeria, 30,000 naira to buy the generator. They buy fuel of 500, 1,000 naira every day. If you want to replace that solution with solar, you need a minimum of $1,000. So it immediately becomes expensive in quotes to the end user. But there are business models now with proper access to finance that creates affordability. Is like renting a car or leasing a car, right? So, and then you pay over time. You pay over 4 years, and then it becomes very affordable. That model is very common in Nigeria now. So that is also, another. And then finally, one other issue that I've seen is the fact that the alternatives currently in Nigeria is still being subsidized. So when you compare renewables to fossil fuel, it looks like, renewables is expensive. But of course, the subsidy is not considered. The environmental impact is not monetized. When you do that, renewables is a lot better than this other alternative. So Nigeria is also overcoming all those challenges and scaling very rapidly in terms of deployment of renewable energy.
Okay, which brings me to my last question. I'm sure, I promise I don't have so many questions for you, but brings my last question for you for now. So when we talk about renewable energy, where do you see more opportunity? Is it for wind or for solar?
Okay, so as an association, we, like I said, we promote 5 technologies. 4 of those technologies have been tested in Nigeria, but somehow, solar seems to be the most deployed, okay? So if you take a ratio of deployment in Nigeria currently, solar is leading for so many reasons. One, solar's technology has advanced. You can deploy solar virtually anywhere in Nigeria. The resource is available virtually everywhere, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Kano. The sun is always shining, right? So solar is taking the lead. But of course, we've seen some wind projects, some standalone winds incorporated to solar. There's a building in Abuja built by one of our members, Blue Camel, that has a combination of solar and wind and water heating solution for 10 apartments, completely off-grid in central. And there's a wind farm in Katsina, 10 megawatts, although still, I think the final turbines are being installed. But yes, solar is taking the lead. But we've seen solutions in solar, in wind. We've seen in biomass. There's a mini grid deployed by one of our members, Ajima Farms, somewhere in the outskirts of Abuja that is powered by biomass, for example. So yes, other technologies are also ramping up, and the potentials for all this exist in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Now, now that we're talking about solar, let's go to Mr. Pelumi Gold of Rubitech Solar. So I would say in terms of how is the availability and sort of like the quality of solar panels in Nigeria, that's one question. And then the second question really is for Rubitech Solar, where, like when you look at your customers, where are they mostly situated in Nigeria?
Okay, so to answer your question, thank you very much. Starting from the last, our customers, well, our customers are mainly mini grids, they're mainly in rural communities, because mini grids in Nigeria are mainly in rural communities. So our mini grids are located in rural communities. So those are our main customers, people without most without access to electricity or largely another issue. I'm trying to remember your first question.
So my first question was really in terms of the availability and the quality of solar panels here in Nigeria. Did you get that? Sorry, you're on mute.
Okay, so regarding the quality and availability of solar panels in Nigeria, they are available in Nigeria. The quality is high. The only thing I would like to mention is that we don't have currently we don't have these panels locally produced in high capacity. So we have local producers of these solar panels in Nigeria already. We have the likes of Adesanya Solar, but we currently don't have local producers of panels. But in terms in high capacity, like the high wattage of 500 watt to 600 watt per panel. But in terms of availability, they're available in Nigeria. We have a lot of solar panels.
Okay, thank you so much. So we say in terms of availability, it is available. So that means the supply is there. Now, my next question really, and I guess this will go to Mr. Fabio, really is one of the things, and it's actually part of the Q&A as well, so it's one of the main challenges is really acquisition costs. How exactly are, say like, I guess my first question for you, and I tend to have like bulk questions, forgive me, but my first question would be, considering like the power issues that we have here as a country, do you think that solar grids are the answer, right? I think I know what you will say, but do you think the solar grids are the answer to that challenge? And then if they are, how can they be financed? Or what do you think we would for it to be financed for, the average person like me in getting like a grid for myself?
Right. So, well, you're going to be surprised, but my answer is not simply that solar grids are the answer. I think solar grids are an important element of the answer. But indeed, I think the answer comes from a rather diverse and well-balanced mix of technologies. So I think solar grids are one answer, and they serve very well, all sort of locations which are maybe a bit more remote, or where there is a energy consumption density that is a bit higher. In other instances, if I have an isolated, middle nowhere home, solar mini grids are not the best solution. Then you're going to be better off with a standard, solar rooftop or solar home system. And if I'm smack in the middle of Lagos, yeah, probably, the grid makes a lot of sense then. And indeed, we should probably want to have a better mix of generation that feeds that grid overall. So that's just to say that, no, I don't think grids are the answer, but it's also, on the other hand, thinking that the grid extension, so extending the main utility alone, that's also not the answer. So it's the balance that will actually work out nicely. Going to your point around financing, I'm happy that we have 11 minutes to solve the financing issue. Now, besides jokes, I think, Nigeria has a lot of good programs at the moment that are trying to promote the arrival of or the participation of private sector companies into the energy mix and the energy effort. I can say what we try to do, because of course one of the things we try to achieve is actually promoting that very market development. And that's why we provide, the panels, the batteries, and the other energy equipment on a rental basis. Because what we're trying to do is actually lower the barrier for people to install a mini grid. So our target really is to make it so that installing a mini grid becomes as cheap, as low cost as installing a diesel generator for a community. So we're like, well, if you were ready to spend, name it, $5,000-$10,000 on a diesel generator, why don't you spend that instead of a solar mini grid? And that will generate revenues, and the revenues will pay for the rental of the equipment. Everybody's happy. So that's what we're trying to target. I think so. The financing question, and here I go back for a second to my earlier joke, is an incredibly complex one, but luckily for us, one where many smart people are trying to find solutions and provide ideas. So there is government support, there is international multilateral support, there is we see more and more activity from local financing institutions and banks. And Segun earlier showed a couple of slides of all the parties that are in one way or another trying to support this. So there is a lot of movement and there is a lot of good ideas. But indeed, there is no one size fits all yet. And this is one of the issues with the problem. It's a very complex problem. And so there are complex solutions. On our end, as Nextgrid, we're trying to simplify things by saying, come to us, we'll help you make a mini grid for very little money. But on the back, we hide a lot of complexity that we are absorbing at that point, because clearly somewhere that complexity is still happening.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, so we have like a few more minutes to the end of our panel session. And because obviously we're Jobberman Nigeria, there is no way we will have this conversation and we wouldn't talk about talent and the talent in the renewable sector. Now, my question, and anybody can take a stab at this really, is a talent like in this industry? Is it something that, there's readily a lot of specialized talent, or is it something that, most companies struggle with? Maybe we can start with Dr. Shego.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, yes, in terms of talent, just as usual, normal for a nascent industry, of course, there will be an initial death of expertise, especially for a sector that is growing so rapidly, right? But I also know that the sector is rising up to this challenge, particularly RIAN and other stakeholders partnering to see how we can quickly develop capacity locally. A lot of training programs are going on. There are a lot of training centers in Nigeria, NAPTIN. Rubitech Solar has an academy, for example, where people have been trained in and out on mini grids and the rest. So yes, a lot of movements in terms of building local capacity. And for us in RIAN, we also collaborate with external stakeholders who have the wide experience in this sector, and bringing them on board to see how we can also build local capacity. So yes, there will continually, as the sector grows, of course, there will be need for more capacity to be built. And it's also one of those areas that I think we're keen in discussing with Joberman. Like I said, there's a link between us and Joberman because the CEO was formerly in Renewables, to see how we can work together. And Joberman has done that very well for other sectors, building talents and recruiting talent. We want to see that also happen. And then let me also quickly drop this here also in terms of local capacity for solar panels. So it's also a huge business opportunity for anyone who wants to invest in Nigeria. Many companies are now coming in to look at local production of cells, solar panels, for example. So it's a huge opportunity that can also be fixed by interested investors. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Fabio, did you have anything to say regarding like the challenges you face with getting the right talents in the renewable, renewable energy for your business?
No, I think, it's hard to add to Shegun's, but, we've had some good luck working with Match, and that is something that, as an international company coming to Nigeria, it was important for us. We had, as a founding team, we had a lot of experience generally working in sub-Saharan Africa, but we lacked specific experience on Nigeria, and so something like Match is actually was very welcome for us. It gave us an opportunity to solve one of the more local problems that you have as an international player coming to a specific country. So that was a good surprise for us. Yes.
Yeah, and I believe it's also very good when you have companies like Match as well that can provide the right talent or the right talent needed. So on that note, I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone, Dr. Segun Adaju, Mr. Fabio De Pascale, and Mr. Pelumi Gold. Thank you so much for your time today and for this rather engaging session. Now, I'm just trying to see if we have any questions. We don't have any more questions in the Q&A. If you have any questions, now would be a good time to ask your question. I know someone had asked the question earlier around if the presentation will be available after the event. And yes, the presentations will be available after the events for anyone who wants to know. And okay, so I guess my final notes would be like a last note for everyone that's on the panel. So Mr. Pelumi Gold, Dr. Shego, and Mr. Fabio, could you just let us know how can we reach you, your organization? If there's any one of us that would like to, just send requests to know more.
I'll go first. So
yes.
I would say just go to nextgrid.co. What I'm going to do to simplify this is I'm actually going to change my name to be our website. So
that's fantastic.
Becomes maybe a bit easier. There is a contact form there, so please feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, thank you so much. And Dr. Segun?
Yes, thank you so much. I also just posted my details in the chat room, email and phone number. Please feel free. We'll be happy to provide any information that will make your investment decision in Nigeria very quick.
And Mr. Pelumi Gold.
Yes, I'm dropping my contacts in the chat box. Please feel free to reach me. We're happy to collaborate and partner on the sector. Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, then. So everyone has the contacts. And then if you would like to contact German Nigeria, it's www.german.com. And then you could also find me on LinkedIn. It's Sheila OJ on LinkedIn. All right, then. So thank you so much. This was quite an insightful and engaging conversation. And don't forget, for everyone else that is a part of the virtual scoping events today, to join other sessions as well. All right, then. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.